Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to the live reading from Ramayana, the story of Lord Ram. We are covering the Yuddha at the moment, and there has been a lot of battle fight going on between the two camps, that is the Lord Ramchandra's side and the Ravan side. And what's happened now is Ravan has lost some more of his warriors, and now Ravan has got no choice but to come forward and step himself to face his enemy, which is Lord Ram's side. For him, just before dawn, the Rakshasas rushed out from the city to fight with the monkeys, and a furious battle ensued. The incited Rakshasas quickly butchered many monkey soldiers, causing those remaining to run to the shelter of Ram's lotus feet. Ram then employed a spectacular Gandharva weapon that shot forth limited streams of arrows upon the Rakshasas. The showers of arrows were so dense that the Rakshasas could no longer see Ram. All they could see was the decimation of innumerable Rakshas soldiers. Because of the Gandharva weapon, Ram sometimes appeared invisible, and other times the Rakshasas saw 1,000 Rams standing before them in all directions. Within 90 minutes, Ram massacred 200,000 foot soldiers, 18,000 elephant warriors, 14,000 cavalrymen, and numerous chariot fighters. The survivors then fled back to the safety of Lanka as the demigods in the sky ecstatically praised Ram for his victory. Ram said, "O great monkey heroes, you should know that the ability to employ such celestial weapon is only possible for myself and Lord Shiva." Meanwhile, in the Lanka, widows of the slain Rakshasas grouped together lamented over the death of their husbands, and they wailed out, "We curse Surupnakha for she is the root cause of the enmity between Ram and Ravan that has destroyed our race. Because Ram has defeated Ravan many times in the past, Ravan should be well aware of his invincible prowess. Why couldn't a foolish king accept the advice of Vibhishan and avoid this carnage?" Hearing the women's lamentation, Ravan suddenly boiled over with uncontrollable rage. Hissing like a trampled serpent, he ordered his ministers, "Prepare my army for battle at once. Today I shall finally kill Ram, Lakshman, and all the monkeys with my torrents of arrows. Bring my chariot and make certain that every able-bodied Rakshas soldier follows me." At Ravan's command, 100,000 chariots, 300,000 elephants, 60 million horse soldiers, and unlimited foot soldiers assembled. Ravan then mounted his chariot drawn by 8 horses and equipped with numerous weapons belonging to the chief demigods. When Ravan came from his palace, he was greeted with tumultuous fanfare of blowing conch shells, trumpets, and shouts of encouragement from the citizens. When the monkeys heard the uproar, feelings of fear and dread entered their hearts. Then as Ravan exited from the northern gate along with Mahodar, Mahapashva, and Virupaksha, a gloomy atmosphere prevailed. Dark clouds obscured the sun and rained down blood. As Ravan's horses stumbled on the road, Ravan's left eye twitched, his left arm throbbed, his face grew pale, and his voice became hoarse. Then as meteors streaked across the sky, a vulture perched on Ravan's flagstaff. Ravan ignored these evil omens and continued on to meet his doomed fate. When the fighting began, Ravan created havoc, for none of the monkeys could stand before his onslaught of arrows. As the enraged Sugriv led the monkeys in a fierce counterattack upon Rakshas' army, Ravan turned his attention toward Ram. Meanwhile, Virupaksha got down from the chariot and mounted an elephant. He rushed toward the monkeys while raining down arrows upon them. Sugriv tore up the gigantic tree and violently smashed the elephant, throwing it backwards. Jumping from the wounded elephant, Virupaksha picked up his sword and shield and angrily rushed at Sugriv. Although Sugriv hurled a huge boulder at his onrushing foe, Virupaksha dodged it and slashed the Monkey King with his sword. Momentarily dazed, Sugriv fell to the ground, but he quickly sprang up and punched Virupaksha in the chest. This only enraged the Rakshas more. Virupaksha cut off Sugriv's armor with his sword and gave him a kick, making Sugriv fall backwards. Again Sugriv sprang to his feet. When he tried to give the Rakshas a mighty slap, Virupaksha ducked the blow and punched Sugriv in the chest. Flaring with rage, Sugriv looked for an opportunity to strike and suddenly brought the palm of his hand down on Virupaksha's forehead with all his might. Immediately, blood gushed from all 9 holes of the Rakshasa's body and he fell down dead. Witnessing the death of the Virupaksha and the loss of many Rakshasa soldiers, Ravan became even more incensed. He urged Mahodar to vanquish the army. Fighting heroically, Mahodar began to consume the monkey soldiers in great numbers, making them run for the shelter of Sugriv. Sugriv rushed at Mahodar and hurled a huge rock, but the Rakshas broke it to pieces with his arrows. Boiling with rage, Sugriv tore up a tall tree, but the Rakshasa's arrows immediately cut it to pieces and pierced the Monkey King. Sugriv took upon an iron club lying on the ground and rushed toward Mahodar. He struck down Mahodar's horses, forcing the Rakshasa to jump from his disabled chariot. Mahodar then rushed at Sugriv while launching his mace. Likewise, Sugriv threw his club and the 2 weapons collided in midair, neutralizing each other. Sugriv and Mahodar both scrambled to pick up more clubs that were lying about and tossed the weapons at each other. Finally, the 2 closed in on each other and began fighting hand to hand. Mahodar picked up a sword and cut deeply into Sugriv's armor. However, the sword remained momentarily stuck, and as Mahodar struggled to free it, Sugriv took advantage and knocked off the Rakshasa's head. Bereft of their leader, Mahodar's army fled from the battlefield. Meanwhile, Mahaparshva appeared on the scene and began slaughtering the monkey warriors. When Angad saw his soldiers becoming disheartened, he took a heavy club and flung it at Mahaparshva with all his might. The Rakshas and his driver were struck so violently that they both fell to the ground unconscious. Jambavan then hurled a huge rock that shattered Mahaparshva's chariot and killed his horses. Thus, when the Rakshas hero regained consciousness, he was forced to continue fighting on the ground. Mahaparshva immediately retaliated by penetrating Jambavan's chest with 3 arrows and showering innumerable arrows upon Angad. Angad responded by throwing an iron club that knocked off Mahaparshva's golden crown and broke his bow and arrow. Then rushing forward, Angad soundly slapped the Rakshas on the head and merely enraged the Rakshas further. However, who then picked up an axe and hurled it at the monkey prince. Angad expertly dodged the weapon. He then charged Mahaparshva and smashed his chest with such force that the Rakshasa's chest burst open, killing him instantly. As Mahaparshva's army scattered in confusion, the monkeys and demigods shouted with joy and Ravan seethed with rage. The king of the Rakshasas then mounted his chariot and advanced towards Ram, sending a continual stream of arrows. Raman counteracted Ravan's arrows with his own, and thus a fierce battle gradually evolved between the 2 arch enemies. Soon their continuous volley of arrows covered the sky, creating darkness all around. The other monkeys and Rakshas soldiers ceased fighting to witness the spectacular contest. Then Ravan struck Ram in the forehead with an arrow. Ram remained undaunted and retaliated with the Rudra weapon. Even though that the missile discharged innumerable arrows, they simply bounced off to Ravan's impenetrable armor without harming him in the least. Ravan evoked a mystic Asur weapon, causing countless arrows with the heads of lion, tigers, vultures, serpents, and alligators to rush at Ram, their mouths open to devour him. Although Ram employed an ugly weapon that melted the arrows of Ravan in midair. Thousands of monkeys were slain by them. Still, Ram and monkey chiefs were pleased, since the weapon Ravan employed was known to be one of the most powerful. Ravan next evoked the Rudra weapon created by Mayadanav, releasing maces, lances, thunderbolts and nooses in steady streams. Ram quickly foiled the Rudra weapon with his Gandharva weapon. Ravan then discharged a brilliant Surya weapon that caused enormous effulgent chakras to shoot out at Ram. With a display of inconceivable skill, Ram shattered all the chakras with his arrows, but while he was doing so, Ravan pierced Ram's chest with 10 powerful shafts. Ram, however, did not flinch and retaliated by shooting Ravan's limbs with numerous arrows. Desiring to enter the fray, Lakshman released 7 arrows that cut down Ravan's flag. With another arrow, Lakshman severed the head of Ravan's driver, and with 5 more split the Rakshasa's king bow. Then Vibhishan also rushed forward and killed Ravan's horses with his mace, forcing his enraged brother to jump from the disabled chariot. When Ravan angrily hurled a lance at Vibhishan, Lakshman cut it to pieces with 3 arrows as it soared through the air. Ravan then picked up a magical spear manufactured by Mayadanav. Seeing how Vibhishan's life was in danger, Lakshman quickly hailed so many arrows upon Ravan that he became stunned while standing with his spear in hand. Ravan shouted at Lakshman, "Because you have dared rescue Vibhishan, the spear that was meant for him will instead take your life." Ravan roared like a lion and hurled the magical spear. As it unerringly soared through the air toward Lakshman, Ram requested the spear to become ineffectual. Nonetheless, the spear shot through Lakshman's chest and struck into the ground, making the son of Sumitra fall down seriously wounded. When Ram saw Lakshman's pitiful condition, he became extremely despondent. With tears in his eyes, then suppressing his intense grief, Ram extracted the spear from Lakshman's body, even as Ravan showered arrows upon him. Breaking the spear in half, Ram raised Lakshman in his arms and tearfully embraced him. Then, after ordering Hanuman and Sugriv to guard Lakshman, Ram angrily declared, "I shall now exhibit my full prowess against wicked Ravan. I promise he will soon be slain on the battlefield. The monkeys may now go and sit at ease upon the mountain tops. Let them watch with the demigods as I perform a wonderful feat that will be glorified until the dissolution of the world." Ram attacked Ravan with a vengeance. As they proceeded to cover one another with torrents of arrows, their twanging bows produced astonishing clamor. The infuriated Ram soon overwhelmed Ravan, causing the Rakshas to flee the battlefield in fear. Ram then went to Lakshman and with great anguish told Sushen, "Just by looking at my wounded brother, my strength immediately withers. Without Lakshman, victory will have no meaning for me. If he dies, I shall follow him just as he followed me when I was exiled to the forest." With a reassuring voice, Sushen replied, "O Ram, Lakshman is not dying. His facial luster has not faded, and his eyes are still sparkling bright. However, Hanuman must immediately be dispatched to the Mahodaya mountain to collect the herb called Vishalya Karni, Shavarde Karni, Samjiva Karni, and Samdhani. By these medicinal plants, Lakshman can immediately be restored to perfect health." Hanuman again leaped to the Himalayas. However, arriving at Mahodaya mountain, he could not recognize the necessary herbs. In frustration, he again tore off the mountain peak and while holding it in both hands, returned to Lanka. Placing the mountain peak near Sushen, Hanuman laid down for a moment to rest, saying, "I could not recognize which herbs to bring, so I decided to carry the entire mountain here." Sushen praised Hanuman and then went to look for the proper herbs. Thereafter, he crushed the herbs into powder, and when Lakshman was given them to smell, his wounds instantly became healed. As Lakshman stood up, Ram embraced him firmly, saying, "It is my good fortune that you are well. O Lakshman, without you, there would be no use in recovering Sita or even maintaining my life any longer." Lakshman replied, "My dear brother, please do not indulge in such grief any longer. Quickly make good your vow to kill Ravan and install Vibhishan as king of Lanka." Meanwhile, Ravan mounted another chariot and rushed out from the city, eager to fight with Ram. Ram took up his bow and released a downpour of arrows upon Ravan. However, from the sky, the demigods exclaimed, "This battle is not being fairly fought. Ram is standing on the ground while Ravan rides in a chariot." Taking this cue, Indra called to Matali and ordered him to take his chariot to Ram on the battlefield. Matali thus came before Ram, driving Indra's golden chariot, which was drawn by 1,000 greenish horses. The celestial charioteer then announced to Ram, "My dear Lord, King Indra requests you to kindly accept this chariot for fighting with Ravan. Inside, you will find Indra's bow and armor, along with an incomparable spear and various celestial arrows. O Ram, please mount the chariot at once, for the demigods are most disturbed to see you having to fight standing on the ground. After circumambulating Indra's chariot, Ram mounted it and thrilling duel ensued. When Ravan released a Gandhar weapon, Ram quickly neutralized it with another Gandhar weapon. Next, Ravan discharged a Rakshas weapon and that took the form of innumerable serpents with blazing wide open mouths. In response, Ram released a Garuda weapon that transformed into countless golden eagles that quickly ate up all Ravan's snake arrows. This enraged the Rakshas king, who then rapidly discharged 1,000 arrows at Ram. He also shot numerous arrows that hit Matali, a single arrow that knocked down Indra's flag, and many more that afflicted the horses. Ravan was putting Ram in great difficulty, and the demigods and monkey warriors became quite anxious. Ram then assumed a most frightening angry form, causing the entire earth with its mountain and oceans to quake. Many evil omens manifested, and all created beings, included Ravan, became afraid. Numerous demons suddenly appeared in the sky to cheer Ravan toward victory. As if in response, Ravan picked up a fearsome dart and rode so ferociously that the heaven and earth began to tremble. Then he shouted, Ram, prepare yourself, for you shall now die. Ravan hurled the lethal dart. Soaring through the sky, it made a loud roaring noise and was encircled by lightning. Ram released innumerable arrows to counteract Ravan's awesome weapon, just as Indra tries to stop the fire of devastation by pouring down torrential rains. When Ram saw all his arrows being consumed by the fearsome dart, he picked up the celebrated spear of Indra and hurled it. Soaring through the air, Indra's spear illuminated all directions and then collided with Ravan's dart, shattering it to pieces that fell harmlessly to the ground. Ram then punctured Ravan's chest, forehead, and horses with arrows. Although Ravan was exhausted and blood flowed from wounds all over his body, he continued to storm arrows upon Ram in great danger. Indeed, Ravan riddled Ram's chest with 1,000 arrows that covered him with blood. The constant hail of arrows was so dense that Ram and Ravan could no longer see each other clearly because of the darkness it produced. Still, Ram remained undaunted. Laughingly, disdainfully, he rebuked Ravan, saying, You are the most abominable of the man-eaters. Indeed, you are like their stool. O kidnapper of Sita, you are the first-class fool for considering yourself to be a great hero. Actually, you are a great coward. You dare to take my wife away, deceptively luring me far away. How can you be proud of overpowering a poor defenseless woman in the absence of her husband? You resemble a dog, for as dog steals eatables from the kitchen in the absence of the householder, in my absence you kidnapped my wife Sita. Therefore, as Yamraj punishes sinful men, I shall also punish you. You are most abominable, sinful, and shameless. Today, therefore, I, whose attempts never fail, shall punish you. O Ravan, today you will meet your deserved end. The body you are so attached to will become food for jackals and vultures. Thereafter, Ram began to fire his arrows with redoubled energy and greater dexterity. The assault was combined with volleys of stones hurled by the monkeys. Ravan became so dazed that he could no longer take up the properly discharge his weapon. Seeing his master's death near at hand, Rama's charioteer drove him swiftly away from the battlefield beyond the reach of Ram's arrows. The charioteer then said, O king, I took you away from the fighting only for your welfare. You appear to have lost all your strength and your horses are exhausted. Many inauspicious omens were visible, so I did what I considered to be my foremost duty. Ravan became pacified by his driver's word and then ordered, Go quickly to where Ram is. Once Ravan makes up his mind, he does not turn back until he has completely vanquished his enemies. In Ravan's absence, Agastya Rishi came before Ram, knowing him to be greatly fatigued from fighting. After being properly honored and welcomed, Agastya said, My dear Lord Ram, kindly receive from me Aditya Hriday prayer meant for satisfying the sun god. This mantra bestows great blessings and cleanses all sins. One who chants this hymn prolongs his life and remains always fixed on the eternal path of religion. The mantra is as follows. O presiding deity of the sun, I offer my obeisances unto you. You are the chief of all demigods because of your unlimited effulgence which maintains the entire universe. Indeed, both demigods and demons worship you for their ultimate welfare. You are the reservoir of all the universal energy and the source of life for all beings. As such, you perfectly represent the Supreme Lord Vishnu as his empowered expansion. Men who are knowers of the Vedas therefore worship you as Lord Narayan, situated within the sun. By chanting suitable prayers 3 times a day, it is you alone who destroy the dense darkness of this universe, and thus I bow down unto you. O splendorous one, again and again I offer my obeisances unto you. O eye of the Supreme Lord and witness of the world's activities. Agastya Rishi concluded, O Ram, if you recite these mantra, then while worshipping the sun god, then you will certainly be able to conquer your enemy. Anyone who is in difficulty and worships Surya with this prayer never comes to grief. Agastya then left Ram, already felt rejuvenated, and thereafter he sipped water 3 times while uttering the holy names of the Lord. Then, with his gaze fixed upon the sun, Ram recited the Aditya Hriday prayer and experienced great transcendental bliss. As Ram again took up his bow and advanced towards Ravan, Surya spoke to him from the sky, urging, Do not delay, go quickly. Ram then ordered, O Matali, drive quickly to where Ravan is staying, but do so with great caution. Remembering that he was speaking to Indra's charioteer, Ram became embarrassed and apologized, saying, I am sorry to have instructed you as if I were your master. I am simply eager to kill Ravan and hope you will excuse my offense. Matali was touched by Ram's display of humility and soon brought Indra's chariot close to Ravan's aid. Ram and Ravan then exchanged arrows and the fighting became fierce. Evil omens came into view, foreboding the destruction of the Rakshas king. Clouds rained blood upon the Ravan's chariot, and a flock of vultures followed behind him. A huge meteor then fell close by, causing all the Rakshasas to become despondent, convinced that Ravan would soon die. Conversely, pleasing signs appeared before Ram, indicating that victory would soon be his. Thereafter, Ram and Ravan exhibited the entire wealth of their prowess. The competition became so intense that the armies were stunned by the amazement. Indeed, the soldiers stood motionless like paintings. They were so absorbed in watching the fight that they did not even think of attacking each other. When Ravan tried to cut Indra's flag, Ram deflected his arrows with his own. Determined to match Ravan's blow for blow, Ram knocked down Rakshas king's flag. Next, Ravan shot Indra's horses, but when the celestial steeds did not even stagger, Ravan became frustrated. Ravan resorted to using his Rakshas powers of illusion to shoot forth clubs, discs, trees, and mountain peaks. Ram counteracted all these weapons before they reached his chariot, causing them to fall upon the monkey army. Both Ram and Ravan continued to dispatch thousands of arrows at each other as they collided in the sky. The shafts fell down onto the battlefield. In this way, the fighting continued for nearly 1 hour as Ram matched Ravan blow for blow. As all created beings looked on, their minds were filled with wonder. Both chariot drivers also displayed great skill, but as the chariots came side by side, Ram forced Ravan's 4 horses to run away by cutting them with 4 arrows. This increased Ravan's anger. He repeatedly assailed Ram with his arrows in retaliation. Ram remained undisturbed, thus the exchange of weapons became so feverish that the fighting was unparalleled in the history of warfare. Sometimes Ravan displayed his 10-headed feature, and at others he appeared in his normal persona with only 1 head. Suddenly Ram severed Ravan's head with an arrow. However, as the severed head fell to the ground, a duplicate miraculously appeared in its place. Ram then severed that head, but another replaced it too. Again and again Ram continued to sever Ravan's head until hundreds of Ravan's head had fallen onto the battlefield. Each time a new head appeared in place of the old one. Ram wondered With these arrows I previously killed Marich, Khar, and Virat. I pierced 7 mighty trees and slayed the invincible Vali. With these arrows have humbled great mountains and agitated the fathomless ocean. How is that they are now ineffectual against Ravan? The duel thus continued at a fierce pace. Both combatants obsessed with killing the other. Indeed, several days and nights passed without a gap in the fighting. Finally, when Matali saw that Ram was not gaining his desired victory, he inquired, "Why are you only fighting in a defensive manner, my lord? Are you not aware of your limitless potencies? The hour of doom has now arrived for the king of the Rakshas. Why do you not employ the divine Brahmastra?" Reminded of his ultimate weapon, Ram took up the arrow that Agastya Rishi had formerly given him at the time of their meeting in Dandakaranya forest. Lord Brahma had personally created this arrow for Indra's use, and later it was presented to Agastya. The feathers of the wonderful arrows were supplied by Garuda, and presiding over the Vayu, the razor sharp head was created with the combined energy of the fire god Agni and the sun god. Surya, Mount Meru, and Mount Mahendra contributed their gravity. Becoming the arrow's weight, and its shaft was made from a subtle ethereal element. The wonderful Brahmastra arrow was omnipotent and infallible, and its dazzling effulgence rivaled the sun's. Empowering the arrow with the required mantras, Ram placed the terrible Brahmastra upon his bowstring while gazing upon the flaming arrow. The monkeys became filled with delight, while dread penetrated the hearts of the Rakshasas. As Ram pulled the bowstring back to his ear, the earth began to shudder and the heavens appeared to be thrown into confusion. At last, when Ram released the Brahmastra, it sped through the air like the death itself, striking violently the chest of Rakshas king, piercing through Ravan's heart like a thunderbolt. The fierce arrow then entered into the earth, taking Ravan's sinful life along with it. Then, as the wonderful Brahmastra re-entered Ram's quiver, Ravan dropped his bow from his hand, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths. He fell down dead upon the ground. Upon seeing this, Ravan's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas, alas, what has happened? What has happened?" With great transcendental ecstasy, the monkey warriors loudly proclaimed Ram's victory and pursued the fleeing Rakshas army from the sky. The demigod shouted, "Well done, excellent," as they covered Ram's chariot with showers of flowers and beat upon celestial drums. With Ravan dead, the rishis and demigods felt blessed relief and peace of mind that they had not enjoyed for a long time. A gentle, cool, fragrant breeze then began to blow, and the sun serenely spread its rays so that happiness appeared to pervade all directions. Sugriv, Angad, Vibhishan, and Lakshman were the first to come and pay homage to Ram. However, when Vibhishan saw his elder brother lying dead on the battlefield, he broke down and cried in an outburst of grief. Meanwhile, news of Ravan's death spread throughout the inner apartments of the royal palace. All the Ravan's wives came out of the city to the battlefield, their hairs disheveled and ornaments in disarray. The ladies approached the dead body of Ravan, wailing loudly, overcome with unbearable grief. Some of the women rolled in the dust, while the others embraced different parts of his body, crying, "O Lord." One of the ladies hung around Ravan's neck, while others clutched his feet, rubbing his wounded chest, and threw their arms up in despair. Others fainted away, unable to bear the grief. Amidst the sound of loud wailing, they could be heard lamenting, "O dear husband, by ignoring our good advice and that of Vibhishan, you have brought about your own destruction. Now that you are gone, we too are vanquished, for we have got no other support. This is the inevitable end, however, for such a cruel and hard-hearted person like you. Who else would have dared to kidnap Sita and keep her against her will?" Ravan's favorite queen, Mandodari, then lamented, "O my lord, O master, you epitomized trouble for others, and therefore you were called Ravan." So this is the meaning of the word Ravan, one who epitomizes troubles for others. But now that you have been defeated, we also are defeated, for without you the state of Lanka has been conquered by the enemy, to whom will it go for shelter, my dear husband. Although you were so powerful, you could not stand before Ram. You are too confident of your acquired prowess. Thus, you became a great burden to the earth. You could not understand that Lord Vishnu himself has descended upon the earth as Lord Ram to relieve that burden. O Ravan, your sinful passion for Sita has become the cause of the destruction for all the Rakshasas. You always masqueraded as a great hero, yet you were proven to be a coward when you deceitfully kidnapped Sita. You came under the influence of lusty desires, and therefore you could not understand the influence of Mother Sita. Because of her curse, you have been reduced to this state, having been killed by Lord Ramchandra. O pleasure of the Rakshas dynasty, because of this, you, the state of Lanka, and also we ourselves have no protector. By your deeds, you have made your body fit to be eaten by vultures and your soul fit to go to hell. But even though your character was abominable, I do not see how I will go on living in your absence. Finally, Mandodari fainted with her head against Ravan's chest. Then her co-wives lifted her up and revived her to consciousness. Ram then ordered Vibhishan, begin the funeral rites for your brother without further delay. It will only be possible to comfort Ravan's widows after his body has been cremated. Vibhishan replied, I do not wish to perform the funeral ceremony for a man who kidnapped the wives of others, who was merciless and tyrannical, and who was inclined towards irreligion. Since he was my elder brother, it is my duty to respect Ravan, but at the same time his actions were those of an enemy, thus he does not deserve my worship. Ram then said, I approve of your words because they uphold the cause of virtue. Still, I want you to cremate the body of your brother regardless of his faults. His hostilities have now ended. Vibhishan then went to Lanka to make the preparations. After bringing his maternal grandfather Malyavan, Vibhishan placed Ravan upon the funeral carrier and proceeded with numerous other Rakshasas carrying the firewood. Going toward the south, the party arrived at a consecrated place where they cremated Ravan according to Vedic injunctions. Thereafter, Ravan's wives were consoled and everyone returned to Lanka. Having given up his transcendental anger, Ram assumed a gentle countenance and laid aside his bow, arrows, and armor. With the fighting concluded, the demigods left from the sky overhead and went back to their abodes. While going, they chanted the glories of Lord Ram with great satisfaction. Then, after receiving the due honor from Ram and permission to depart, Matali ascended into the sky upon Indra's chariot and returned to the heavenly kingdom. Returning to his military camp, Ram ordered Lakshman to perform the installation ceremony for Vibhishan. In turn, Lakshman gave golden vessels to the chief monkeys and ordered them to quickly fetch water from the four seas. So we will continue from here onwards next time. So this is what I wanted to accomplish today, to finish this part of the reading where Ravan has been vanquished, and now we will read from here onwards. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.